Welcome to Direct and Current, an audio broadcast presented by Electrical Business Magazine. I'm Anthony Kapkin. At the end of April 2020, we were just over 1 month into a national lockdown due to COVID-19. Emergency health measures were enacted, construction was severely curtailed in some jurisdictions, in others it ceased altogether. The economy was shutting down. Yet electricians had been deemed essential in most jurisdictions, and by extension, their distributors. So I gathered together a panel of electrical distributors from one coast to the other to learn how the pandemic was affecting their operations and their ability to serve their customers. This is part 1 of 2 of that discussion. In part 2, I asked my panelists what pandemic-related changes, lessons learned, and the like will persist when the crisis eventually passes and we get to our new normal. With that, let's get on with part 1. I'd like to start with the question and actually sort of set the stage, if you will, that electricians have been deemed essential in most jurisdictions. So how have you adjusted your operations against the backdrop of possible stay-at-home orders, social distancing, and the like? Michael Gross, how about we start with you?
It's unprecedented times here, and it is really about how do you make sure that you protect your team and really first and foremost your own people, and what can you do there to make sure that everybody operates in a safe and healthy mode. So what we have done is we have closed. We're open for business, but we have closed the counters for all kinds of traffic. We got pickup schedules arranged. We have here my by Wesco.ca. Customers can dial in or can call in or can pre-order, and it's curbside pickup. So that's really, and that was mainly here to really protect our own teams and as well as our customers.
Now, Jason, same question to you. So how has Graybar Canada adjusted its operations?
Sure. Like Wesco, we've got curbside pickup across the country now, and I think it was we kind of refer back to Friday the 13th when all this really started, and I think it was pretty amazing across the industry how the consistency within that first week and a half, everyone sort of got in tow and did a lot of the same things. So we had changed a number of things, and the first, I guess, priority of the gate was to look after our employees and our customers, and the big concern that week was just the panic and the unknown about the virus, and people were concerned about their health. And we had a varying degree of I guess, feedback from our employees. Some of them wanted to be home and safe. Others were more than willing to be here. So, we took it and changed a lot of our processes. The curbside pickup was one of them. We sort of reduced access to our buildings to employees only, which, once we did that and got through that point, that seemed to be the settling point for our folks internally. And since then, we've gotten a lot of our staff, about 40 or 45% are working remotely right now, so that we can have those social distancing requirements within the branches where we still need people handling the operations of our business. And then, over the last couple of weeks, we really spent a lot of time as an organization trying to learn how to manage a remote workforce. It's a little bit different from the traditional way that we run our business, and so we're consistently trying to figure out ways, and a big part of it is obviously communication and staying in touch with the teams that are out there. So all of our sales leadership are spending a lot of time connecting with the teams and using the technology that's out there today. I think if we were in this position 5 or 10 years ago, the industry and really the economy overall, I think would be in a lot rougher shape without the technology that we have available to us today. So I feel like we're fairly fortunate that way.
Well, thank you for that, Jason. Let me jump over to the other coast where Tim Horsman is waiting patiently. Same question to you, Tim. How have operations changed at EB Horsman and Son?
It's been a very fluid environment and somewhat unnerving, no question. I've been most impressed with the team as they've had to pivot, and they did that really, immediately as the pandemic and information-related kind of evolved. Health and safety, as with Jason and the whole channel, was paramount, and we needed to make sure our not just our customers and suppliers and employees were safe, but also, safety in the community in general, and that we were being a good corporate citizen and, just protecting and living by the standards that were being set by an evolving public health authority. So, in our organization, we had, and I feel very fortunate, we have a business continuity committee that runs. They have a monthly meeting anyways. The interesting thing and learning was that we had always been running that committee with the kind of field of vision being around some kind of natural disaster, a tsunami or an earthquake, maybe a disruption in a cut fiber line or a gas explosion that cut off a piece of the business. We had never really contemplated a larger full-scale adjustment. But much of what we did with that business continuity planning, applied, and we were really able to quickly pivot, which was special. The team almost immediately set up subcommittees. One which was a branch operational kind of customer experience task force that was tasked with looking at how we were serving customers and supply chain couriers that were coming and going, and the other end of the spectrum, that unified kind of sales and marketing digitalization plan. So our construction market has continued. So we were fortunate that we got to continue to serve customers, unlike some of the other areas across the country. So yeah, those modifications, curbside continues, focus on remote work and through phones and email, e-commerce tools. So now we're in the phase, and I use the language in the company, respond, recover, and thrive. Our initial response and the way that we adjusted our workforce, enabling remote work almost instantaneously, was great. Health and safety, how we're going to now re-enter the market is the interesting part. And then the team is really tasked with, okay, this is a fluid environment. We're going to reopen. The restrictions are going to be relaxed, but there is a really high probability that we'll have to have a fallback position. So we want to think about recovery and long term, but we're still in the phase where the reality is we're 18 months or longer maybe away from a vaccine. So what's our new normal, and how do we find it? So we're focusing on the things we can control, and it's been an interesting experience.
Oh, interesting. Definitely. I think you've summed everything up quite nicely just with that one word. Now, keeping out west, I'd like to turn to Greg. Can I have you weigh in?
It affected every part of our business, and I think even from our executive team to the first thing for us was that we had to implement all of a sudden daily COVID updates. Luckily, we've removed those from daily now to just weekly, but that was the first thing that we looked at for our own changing our daily way of life. For our branches, one of the things that differed from us was the fact that we actually left our counters open. What we did was we were lucky enough in most of our buildings to have enough physical space where we did things like remove gondolas with product, we removed marketing displays, we removed a lot of things to create a larger physical space within our counters so that we could look after the health of our employees, but also the health of the customers that actually entered our buildings. We did other things like limit access to areas in our building that normally would have access to customers prior to that as well. They were kind of the big things. From a health and safety perspective, I think one thing that we did initially was we looked at our most vulnerable part of our staff, and just based on what the government had talked about in regards to the age bracket, we had certain individuals that they were the first ones that we gave options to work from home. A lot of them decided that they didn't want to. They wanted to stay within the buildings, but like everybody else, I think we reduced our in-office workforce in some cases as much as maybe 40%, and in some cases maybe a little bit less.
Oh, very good. Thank you. There was a little bit of audio overlapping yours at the end there, but but I did get it. Thank you for that, Greg. Let me turn to Roger, who's been also sitting patiently there. So, Roger, how has Rexel Canada and its brands altered its operations in the face of this crisis?
Very similar to everything that's really been covered by others. We had to certainly shut down the counter from traffic, and it really depended on the market we were in. Some of the other actions we took, but one of the things we did do that I hasn't really been talked about is our DCs across Canada. We had to really change the way we operate those. Certainly, just from a flow of people through them, from truck drivers coming in from either couriers or transportation companies, and how we handled that, to our own people, which obviously, in some cases, social distancing in receiving areas and shipping areas can be challenging. Those areas tend to be kind of clustered together on purpose, and workstations also clustered together. So we had to spread some of that out. We did it within our DCs. We've separated shifts. So rather than losing an entire DC worth of employees, if something was, tragically to happen, which well, thank goodness it didn't, was we would, by shifting into two shifts, a cleaning and cleansing period for sanitizing in between them, really reduced our risk on DCs. So that worked well. It caused us to certainly change and the way we did a lot of that work, but it also allowed us to make sure, as others have said, first and foremost was employee safety, and certainly we didn't want somebody either bringing the illness into the workforce or taking it home with them, even worse. So that worked very well, and but did require kind of opening that emergency preparedness plan and figuring out how we were going to do that. And to Tim's point, we had plans created, but never around a pandemic. I don't think any of us ever dreamt that up. So I guess we'll be rewriting the book to include pandemics now.
Very good. You just took the words out of my mouth. For those who even have an emergency preparedness plan, I imagine they'll be tweaking it over the coming days. Let me now turn to Cliff. Cliff, so how at Franklin Empire, how has the crisis changed your operations?
If I'm correct, I think it's Plato who was credited with necessity as the mother of invention. I understand that better today than I ever did before. Like the others, we followed the same path very quickly. We went from, I think it was a Thursday or a Friday, from having nobody in our company working from home. By the following Tuesday, we had 80% of our staff working from home. Technology was a huge factor. We found tools that we already had that we never really used before or had to implement. Quebec led the country with closure of construction sites. So unfortunately, we got our feet wet there. The closure in Quebec was pretty devastating for our business. It represents 50% of our revenue in that province. Ontario a little less so, but Ontario followed 2 weeks later. We managed to keep everybody busy. Thankfully, our industrial side of the business is actually quite healthy. A lot of our industrial customers are essential businesses. They're in food production, pharmaceuticals, and they've really kept us busy. A little bit of construction. Some of the job sites we service are essential types of jobs, but like everyone else, it's a brand new experience, and we've thankfully adapted very quickly, and I'm impressed with the whole industry of how quickly we've been able to adapt and keep things going and keep customer service.
No, it's definitely been something interesting and exciting to watch, just being in the wings. Let me turn now to Mr. Tim MacDonald. Same question to you, my friend.
Good afternoon, Anthony. Great to see all of you there. I was feeling a lot less anxious today until Tim Horsman listed off all of the other disasters that might befall us. So now I may go back to sleepless nights for a little bit. But seriously, our business in the last month, I think a month ago, we were just 2 weeks into it, and there was a lot of anxiety amongst supply people, our customers, and people hadn't really landed in a comfortable space yet. We were figuring it out. But since then, we have been able to transform our business, much like other people have talked about. I say internally that we've moved past surviving and we're into thriving. Someone else had mentioned that earlier, and I think I give a lot of credit to the resilience of our customers and our own people to try to figure out how to keep our supply chain going and jobs that are going, having them to continue to go. We, like others, moved people who it made sense for them to work from home. We were able to shift that. Our distribution center is still operating, but we're trying to be very conscious of safe distances and all those things. Although it was unnerving, I have to say that, products coming and going, and you hear reports about how long the virus could live on a package. And so those things, we're still trying to do the best we can, but it's an uncertain environment. Our Ideal Supply branch is closed early in the process to non-Ideal Supply people, but between inside and outside, our customers figured it out through the telephone, through emailing orders, and the kind of unintended outcome of all this is our e-commerce traffic is twice the unique users and twice the volume that it was a few months ago. So people who were slow adopters to e-commerce, I think this has been the catalyst to them learning how to use it in the same way that all of us are perhaps using WebEx and Zoom and all these things more than we would have a few months ago. So I think in general that our company and the industry is making lemonade out of lemons. And one of the things that's been gratifying to me is to see how we've been able to put competition to the side a little bit and learn from each other. And there are people on this call that I've been able to communicate with discreetly and say, what are you doing? And here's what we're doing. And we've learned so much from the industry and other industries around us, whether it be building supply or plumbing, because we're all trying to do the same thing, keep our businesses operating and keep our customers' businesses operating. So I think our business will be very different when we come out the other end, but for now, it's also very different.
So then there is also some lemonade to be had with the lemons. Let me just get to my last two patient panelists for this first question. And Elaine, we've got your audio all sorted. You're good to go. Let's go to you now. How have things changed at Gerrie?
So probably not much different than everyone who's gone before us. And I think everyone has taken those great steps that have helped make sure all of our employees, as well as our communities and our customers, are kept safe. And I think it's pretty commendable for those who have closed their counters and made those tougher decisions early on and were pioneers. I think that's really great. And we're really very caring industry that whether it's caring for our people, caring for our customers, caring for our vendors, really that seems to be the beautiful thing about this is it's people first, and then it's how do we keep everyone up and running. Like everyone else, the week of March 16th, we deployed anyone who could work remotely, whether they had the technology capability and had a role that could be done from working from home. And I have to really commend our IT department to making us really ready for this. Everything that they had, the foundation they had put in place in our technology, everything from, the laptops, the VPNs, the Skype for Business, the Teams, etc., Microsoft Teams, mobile, etc. And really, we were able, and I'm sure like everyone, able to make a decision one day and everyone's working remotely the next day, and really very seamlessly. And whoever mentioned it before, 10 years ago, that could not have happened. And so it's pretty amazing what technology has come to today that we could really make that happen. We too have curbside pickup and contactless receiving, contactless delivery. Our distribution centers, everyone has homemade masks. We've got our Amy masks, and other people have provided some. We have face shields for anyone who wants them. Face shields for our drivers, for our warehouse folks. Lots of hand sanitizer and disposable gloves, etc. So everyone's well spaced out and I think pretty comfortable with all the steps. And we formed a pandemic preparedness committee mid-March, around the 13th, and we started getting together as an executive, our third generation, director of IT, director of HR, automation, and branch representative to start talking and meeting on a regular basis. And what I really liked about our approach there was we didn't get baked into an idea or a strategy. So what was decided on one day could be exactly the opposite the next day, which I think really helped us being able to pivot so quickly and change our mind, be comfortable with changing our mind for making the new right decision. And based on, the new things that we learned through the government, whether it was the Prime Minister or the Premier's offices or the World Health Organization. So I think being able to adapt and adjust really quickly is really what helped us in these days so far. And of course, we mandated the week of the 16th, March 16th, that no one enters our buildings except employees. It is great that we're now getting all of us quite comfortable with the technologies that we have, whether it's Skype for Business videos or Teams videos or Zoom or online training. And it's just becoming a bit of a way of life that it's great that everyone's getting comfortable with it. And even Dad was able to do a Skype call, Skype for Business video call. So that's pretty good. And really the communications are, I think, really what's holding all of us together and all our companies and our people feeling comfortable is that constant communication that I hear others are doing. And we, of course, are doing it as well. We're still meeting daily as a pandemic team after we listen to the Prime Minister and the Premier. And then we have a manager call at the end of every day. And then our director of HR sends a communication out to all the employees every night as a bit of an update. But as well, our managers are connecting with their teams every Monday morning over a virtual coffee. And they're doing this to try and help make sure everyone still feels connected to their team members, because when you've worked all your career in a department with people or a room full of people, or just plain interacting with anywhere from 5 to 50 people, and now you're working in a room by yourself, it's a bit of an adjustment. So keeping everyone at least once a week connected with the team, we found has been really helpful too.
Oh, definitely. Even though I don't go out often for groceries, just seeing perfect strangers across the parking lot makes me a little happier. Now, Mathieu, you've got the last word on this subject. Hopefully, with having all the panelists in front of you, they've left you something to add. But Mathieu, how have things changed at Electrimat?
Yes, in fact, a lot of things have been said, but on our side, we realized that we came back from far. Because prior to the crisis, we had no employee working from home. No one was using video conferencing. And now, 90% of our employees are working from home, and we enjoy a lot using Zoom and Teams and those platforms. Regarding social distancing, the challenge is in the warehouse team. Because we presently have no volume, it's quite simple. But we are organizing our team so we'll be able to be productive enough to answer the increase of volume in the next week while respecting social distancing. The last thing we want as a society is another closure of the economy because of non-respect of sanitary measures.
No, that's a good point. Very good point. Okay, I think he was done. Okay, excellent. And if you weren't done, Mathieu, sorry if I cut you off. Feel free to jump back in again.
No, that's good for me. I mean, we have to continue our business, but we want to do it with prudence to make sure that we are going in the good way, and we don't have to come back and have another closure.
Excellent. I totally agree with you on that point. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to check out part 2 of 2 of my pandemic panel discussion with Canada's electrical distributors. Have a great day.